The physical impacts of this virus have been devastating. I myself have held the hand of dying patients who are crying out for their family that they can't see. I've taken care of coworkers as they fight for their lives on a ventilator, and knowing that they got sick because of the hospital or their government hasn't protected them. Throughout this pandemic, we've had to reuse N95s so many times. Sometimes the masks literally fall off our faces. We can't stay safe when we are using these kind of standards. As a result, nurses are getting sick. A month ago in my hospital, 9 ICU nurses were out with COVID. Just recently, we had 12 emergency room nurses out with COVID. We need to protect our frontline workers so that we can take care of you. Remember, there is no second line of defense. It's us. As president of the Minnesota Nurses Association, I have been on multiple picket lines with frontline healthcare workers who are protesting to get the PPE that they need and other protections. President-elect Biden, there is something seriously wrong when nurses have to take to the streets to beg for protection in the middle of a pandemic. What we're experiencing in Minnesota is what nurses are experiencing all over the country. We're not being given the protection that we need. We need to have optimal PPE for all staff to prevent airborne and droplet transmissions. We need testing of our workers and patients and contact tracing and notification of exposure for healthcare workers. Do you know that I have not been tested yet? And I have been on the front lines in the ICU since February.
You're kidding me.
Workers who have been exposed, who are sick, need to be allowed to quarantine at home without fear of losing income in their jobs. This is a novel virus, but the principles of infection control are not. Our hospitals have not been providing these basic protections. This is why it is so critical for the federal, state, and local governments to step in to ensure that nurses are protected. Unfortunately, the federal government has not been there. As a result, the pandemic is surging and frontline workers are getting sick and dying. Nurses across the country were so relieved and grateful, Mr. President-elect, when you committed to taking action that we need to have to get this pandemic under control.